Hey everybody, Wii U, double warning. Number one, if you're a huge fan of Wonder Egg Priority and if you're invested in it emotionally and don't want to hear people being very harsh about the writing, please don't listen to this podcast. You don't have to, but you've been warned. Second warning, content warning, pretty much everything, especially suicide and sexual abuse. But if there's anything that you don't want to hear about, including self-harm, child abuse, murder, transphobia, then you probably don't want to listen to this podcast. It'll probably come up at some point. Okay, thank you.
Eggs! Get your eggs here! Fresh and white eggs are here!
Welcome to Anime Slushy. It's me, Cube.
And it's Feen.
And the time has come for egg.
This is long awaited.
Yes, we keep threatening it, and now it's happening. And the thing is, there's so fucking much to talk about with this goddamn show. I feel like this is exactly the kind of show this podcast exists for, Feen. I'm so glad we have a podcast.
Well, what would happen if this podcast didn't exist? Would you just go on Twitter and lose a bunch of followers?
Yes. That is the correct answer. Because I have to put this out into the world somehow, all my egg thoughts.
Yeah.
They have to get out there.
I am the release valve for all of Cube's opinions on bad anime.
No, look, everyone's participating. You and the audience, we're all in this together to help me get it all out about the eggy. But here's the thing. So we talked about this a bit on the taster, but Phoenix also watched the first 4 episodes. And I think there's so much to talk about in those first 4 that they might actually be their own episode. We were planning on splitting it into 2, but I think we might have to split it into 3. There's just too much egg content to discuss.
It is pretty wild. I remember at the end of the taster, I said, oh, look, I'll probably keep watching it. But then it turned out, I thought about it this morning and went, nah. So I didn't watch past episode 4. But like, I was keeping up with what everyone was telling me was happening in the episodes, and goddamn, there was a lot going on.
Yeah, I think it's a good set of eras. So the first episode of our podcast will be episodes 1 to 4, which have their own little arc of like, oh wow, this show's super bitchin'. Oh no. And then episodes 5 through 10 will be part 2, and those are just the general messy ass storytelling slosh portion of the show. And then 11 plus is completely unrelated buck-ass wild shit. And we might get a guest on for that one who's a fellow connoisseur of edgy trash anime and just have a good time talking about it. But we'll have to wait for that one because we want to wait until the super true finale comes out in June.
The true finale that's going to make the whole show good and make sense.
4th Sherlock episode.
Now, which episode features the trans boy?
That's episode 10.
Okay. Yeah, that's probably a good place to stop that section.
Yeah, a lot happens in 10. Not like there's the trans boy thing and a lot of other stuff.
This is one of those things where, so that I've seen other AniTubers talking about how Wonder Egg Priority is a candidate for Anime of the Year, right?
I mean, sadly, I kind of agree with them, but only because awards are bad.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. I can see it happening only because of the sort of anime that tend to get those awards. And I feel like this is a very comparable situation to Made in Abyss in a lot of ways. It's very frustrating the way that sometimes anime fans seem to get fooled to some extent by a show that is pretty and has nice music, and occasionally like a show that talks about hardcore stuff. I'm always so confused as to how like you can just sort of ignore the other stuff that's happening in a show. There's still so many people talking about eggs so positively, and I'm honestly just so confused. I don't.
Yeah, though I will give people credit. There's varying points at which I think most people by this point have agreed that at least like by the end it's a mess.
Sure.
And some people after the trans boy episode agreed that it's a mess. So it's like some people have finally come around to our position, but we're here to explain to you why you should have realized episode 4, we were right. We are the Cassandras of anime.
There's lots of different reasons that people might latch onto it. I like the whole trans Momo thing. I understand why a lot of trans people, latched onto that. I think mostly because there is just such a complete dearth of trans rep that you're kind of desperate for anything.
Yeah.
But it's still, I mean, that's a particularly miserable part of all of this. But it's still that sort of just a thing of you know the way there are Oscar movies? Like there's a period of the year when Oscar movies get released, which are like movies that
Are you
play
saying
to,
that this is the crash of anime?
kind of, yeah. I think it's a similar thing. It's like the sort of movies that get made to win Oscars. There is a type of anime that gets made to win anime awards and impress people with how pretty and seemingly deep it is without actually being deep. Like,
Shit, you're right.
I feel like Violet Evergarden is another one that's like this, where, it has pretensions to being deep and it looks amazing, but it's actually like a pretty poor show. Like it's not very good.
And it has it like it's dealing with the real shit, like the controversial issues.
Yeah.
But not really.
But not really. It's just sort of toying with them. Like it's bringing them up and going, wow, but it's not actually like getting into anything. It doesn't have much to say. And if you look at what it's actually saying, it's saying some really fucked up shit. Like Egg and Violet Evergarden, I think, definitely have that in common.
Yeah.
If you really look closely at what the show is telling you, yeah, not good.
Though Egg is much worse in that regard.
Oh, no. Like, yeah, Miles. Egg is, like, yeah, Violet Evergarden just has some slightly problematic shit. Wonder Egg is, like, so far beyond.
Oh my god.
It's so fucking far beyond. Oh.
Some of the stuff we're going to get into in part 2. Mwah, mwah, mwah. But first, we have to tell you the sorrowful tale, the true tragedy of this tale, which is I would recommend to anyone who likes anime in general to watch episode 1. And if you want to, like me, you can imagine a much better show of which this makes sense as the first episode. And it's one of those properties that I'm adding to my heart list of if I could just fucking steal them and fix them. I just want to fix it because I fucking love the first episode.
It's really good. It's still really good. Like, there's a reason we started out pretty high on the show. Like we said in the taster, that first episode has such a lovely mood and it looks nice, and the little interactions between the two girls are really strong.
Yeah, and I'll say, like, going through the first episode after watching the entire show, I feel like the first episode must have been written in, like, mostly a vacuum, like as a pilot, because there's a lot of elements like the See No Evil monster guys that really make sense for the first episode. And then by later, it's like, why the fuck are these the monsters of the show? They don't have anything to do with what's happening now.
Yeah.
Okay, you want to get into it?
Yeah, let's get into it.
First, we have Ai, our main character. Her design is so fucking good. The character designs are really good in the show.
Yeah, I mean, the Ai's design is good. The other ones, I don't know.
Well, that's true. I mostly really like her, and I really fucking like Rika. Rika's design is my shit, even though she's a horrible person. But it's a really good character design.
No, it is. Yeah. No, but Ai in particular, like, she was on all of the initial promo material when the show was being mysterious, not telling her what it was about, and I remember seeing that stuff and going,
Yeah.
Just because it was such a cute design.
So she's got her short, like, dark blue hair, and she's got heterochromia. It's horrible. She has like one blue and one brown eye, and she's got a big old hoodie that she can kind of zip up and make herself look like a chick, and like shorts. So she's got like the big hoodie, but then the shorts and the skinny anime girl legs, and the big chonky shoes that I've taken some screenshots of for a good chonky shoe reference. And it's a strong design.
It is, yeah. She was very endearing in the first episode, even with all the silly edge nonsense that was going on.
Yeah. So something that you see really early on here is that there's something about the backgrounds of this show where I don't know if this is a thing now, but it looks like a lot of them are photos or like really realistic 3D models. I couldn't tell which it was, and it's very mysterious to me. Like, it doesn't look bad when it's, properly composited in this show, but I'm just like, what's going on there? Did you really just take photos and you're like, works?
And it's like treating them a little bit somehow or something.
Yeah. But we see Ai in this realistic town photo realm, and she sees a dead cicada, and it's like, oh no, it's so sad. But you know what? She picks it up and she buries it, and she gives it a little hand clappy prayer because she's a good girl. And then the cicada comes to life and starts talking to her, and we'll never find out why that's a thing.
This is the trouble. This is the trouble with you do your show and you set up all you do like whimsical, mysterious things, and then but you don't actually have a plan for. Well, hang on, why did that? At one point, we're magical cicadas, or is it a drug? Is she hallucinating?
Oh, well, I mean, minor spoilers. At some point, they make it seem like they just have bug drones.
Oh.
So, but it's like, but then did you have one of your bug drones like play dead in the hopes that this girl would show up and bury it and then you could invite her to your egg club? Like, this doesn't actually really explain it. It feels very backfilly of something that they just, came up with for a pilot.
Yeah, possibly.
But the cicada's talking to her and he's like, you got to come to this place where you'll get a free one from the capsule machine. And it's like, what is this very mysterious talk? And she's chasing the cicada running with her cute baby arms. And she goes down this escalator to this mysterious realm that we're never going to find out why this whole place exists and nobody goes there or anything. It's mysterious. 'Cause that's the thing about this show is at first, this episode and some of the later ones, it makes it seem like it's going to be a very liminal kind of metaphorical thing. But as it goes on, it tries to become more hard science in a way that's like, why? This worked way better when it was just like, don't worry about it.
Yeah, like almost a sort of Utena-ish type thing where this is just, these are sort of visual metaphors for what these girls are dealing with.
Yeah.
Which is what we thought it was at first. It was like, it's going to be a story about grief, and you're going to have these girls working through that shit with these, like, cool anime battles.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
God damn it. So she gets down to this mysterious realm. Oh, as she's going down, she's like, well, there's nothing I really want. And the bugs are like, haha, liar, you want a friend. and so I'm sure that'll be very important to the finale of this show. It'll be that friendship. And then it cuts to her back at her normal life, and she has an egg now, a mysterious eggie. And she doesn't know what to do with this eggie, but it's tough. You can't break that eggie.
Yeah, that's the main thing is she tries to break it a few times and like thing with just one crack.
I wonder how you can break that eggie. And then her teacher comes to visit and check on her. Her cool teacher guy, recurring important character.
Right from the start, like even before we knew anything, the show was giving us these weird vibes about this teacher. And considering what happens later, I'm starting to think those vibes were unintentional.
No, I know why you would think that. The whole thing that the show's playing with this teacher is so fucked. And the show knows it's fucked is what's wild about it, because the show absolutely purposefully frames him as creepy and has the girls explicitly discuss possibilities of the things that you would worry about him having creepily done. It knows, and still it does the thing that it does later.
Oh, God. Okay. Righto.
It's fucked.
Okay.
So yeah, he comes to check on Ai, but she won't see him for some reason. It's all very mysterious. So we think we see her sneaking out at night, but oh fuck, she's in a dream realm. Pew, 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 pew. It's school now. It's the middle of the day. She's at the school. And this is the place where she'll always come to when she does her dream battles in her dream realm, is just kind of like a general school grounds.
She's generally inside the building, right, isn't she?
Yeah, I think she pretty much always comes out in that hallway or somewhere, but she can go anywhere like in the school and it all works like a normal school topologically. So she sees a lot of kind of generic anime bullying shit happening. Like some girls are writing die on a girl's locker and then she's like, whoa, what are you doing? And then they turn around and they have like censored pixelated faces, but like big realistic lips. And it's like, ooh, spoopy pasta.
Yeah. The spooky stuff was working at first, at least for me.
Yeah. It's very RPG Maker horror game and I was down.
Is this also where we see the lily left on someone's desk? Or is that later?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a Japanese thing that I didn't understand at first, but that's a mark of death or something? Or a marker for death?
Yeah, so it's basically like saying like, haha, you're dead.
Right, okay. Great, cool.
Yeah, so it's just generally, like, that's what I like about, one of the things I like about this episode is it's just like, okay, you get it. This girl is a bullying victim, and it doesn't feel the need to get super into the exact details of it and how it went down and make it ridiculously edgy or whatever. It's just like, okay, got it, bullying.
And even the things like leaving a lily on the desk or writing die, I love it, locker are like over the top. we're in a dream space at the minute, so that's kind of okay. The show's not saying, oh, this actually happened. This is just like...
I mean, I could see those. Like, it's not as over the top as what we're going to have to talk about in episode 2 in terms of anime bullying.
Oh, sure, but it's still like, it's still a bit silly.
It's a bit much.
But if this is her dream and if this is her sort of idea of what bullying looks like, from a personal perspective, that's sort of how you could interpret that as being that's how it feels, you know.
That's true. Yeah, and it's not super important exactly what kind of bullying she experienced. It's just that she was a victim of bullying. And the her that we're talking about, because so I goes to hide in the bathroom, and then the toilet paper it makes like a mouth out of toilet paper and says, break that egg, break that wonder egg.
He gets very angry.
Yeah.
Gets real fucking angry about that egg.
Break the egg.
Yeah.
And I throws the egg at him and it cracks.
Finally.
And my girl comes out. My girl. My girl. She's so cool and good, and she's my daughter.
And she's only in one episode. Bye.
But she's this girl who, like, she's wearing her jacket open in a way that, like, they draw that really well in a way that not all anime gets. The way that, like, your jacket hangs when it's open, and so it's like kind of bigger and wider, you know?
Mm.
And she's got a like brown hair with a little side ponytail that's curled, and she's all cool, and I'm like, this is my daughter.
The thing with her is that while I is extremely confused about what the hell's going on,
Yes,
the first thing this girl says is like, oh God, why did you bring me out here in a place like this? Like, she seems to be a veteran of whatever the fuck is going on here.
yeah. So she's like, oh, in the bathroom, really? Oh yeah, and before on the PA you could hear like a girl voice going like, all of you at school today, a question. What should you do if you see someone being bullied? The answer, pretend not to see. And that will be a recurring theme of this episode.
Mm. And it's interesting because the way that theme changes, because at first you're sort of thinking that, okay, I was bullied and no one helped her, and that's the way that's meant to feel. But later on you learn, oh, hang on, no, that's not actually what that was about, which I kind of liked.
Yeah. Yeah. It all comes together. So once the girl comes out, the PA music starts playing over it, and monsters show up.
Ooh.
The wonder killer this episode is a girl with the sensor face and the lips, and she just has 2 axes. And that's part of why this episode works, is because later on the monsters are going to be big and ridiculous and colorful and goofy as fuck. But this one's just a creepypasta girl with axes, and it's just better.
It really is. She's perfectly scary enough on her own and uncanny and shit. Like, and she seems to command all of these C-Nos as well, which are like the little monster guys.
So she just like fucking throws one of her axes, and it cuts the cool girl's arm real bad. And that's the first time you see blood in the show. So you're like, oh, okay, this is the kind of show we're at now. Okay. And yeah, the little guys come out. They're just little guys. Mm. And the translated name for them is C-Nos, as in see no evil, which again makes a lot of sense for this episode, not so much in terms of the series.
The C-Nos kind of look like minions, but less creepy. Sorry.
They look like little like chibi boys in like school uniforms with like these creepy mask faces, and they have knives. So again, it's very RPG Maker horror feeling. And they're just kind of 3D, and they kind of like bounce after you. And there's a lot of like really cool shots of the 2 girls running from them, and it's very dramatic.
It is. And it's scary. Like, it is actually pretty scary at times, the show.
No, yeah.
I feel this is one of them. There's a desperation in this stuff to get away from these things that are just fucking everywhere. It's nice.
Yeah, and I realized that she has like a big wound in her side, and it's like, oh fuck, we're both bleeding real bad. And the cool girl like grabs her arm and leads her into throws open a locker, and they run through it, and then they're in a different zone, and she closes it, which is very nice, like dream logic feeling shit. Yeah.
One thing though is that I isn't actually injured, is she? Like, that's one of the things, is that only the girl that comes out of the egg can be properly hurt, whereas I can take an injury, but it doesn't actually affect her. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like once they're through, the girl's like, look at your wound, and it's healed on I, but the girl's isn't. She holds out her hand and there's blood on it. And she's like, mine don't. And it's like, oh no. They go to the cafeteria and they're sitting together in the cafeteria, and there's a super cute scene where I's kind of like holding her legs and she's talking to the cool girl, and the cool girl's expositioning shit. And the Cinos and stuff, they only chase that girl. They won't chase I, which is important. And they just need to run from the bad guys until the bell rings, is what the girl says they need to do. And I's immortal, so that's cool. But only in this dream realm, of course.
Yeah. But the thing is that I, unlike this girl that came out of the egg, I's pretty terrified of what's going on.
Yeah.
Even though she can't be hurt. She's still like, you can partially tell from the way she's sitting, where she's sort of hugging herself, that she's just really fucking scared.
Yeah. And Cool Girl says only people without friends buy and break the eggs. And considering we'll learn that it has to do with people whose friends have killed themselves, I don't know why only girls with no other friends are allowed to have eggy.
Well, I think, like you say, this is one of those things that makes sense in the pilot, but doesn't make sense as we meet other characters, and the show's lore sort of jumbles or just sort of shifts. Yeah.
We'll figure out an explanation for this later. Oops, we didn't. Whatever.
Who cares?
And they have that really cute combo where they're talking about friends and boyfriends, and it's like, did you ever have a boyfriend? And it's like, okay, on the count of 3, say whether you do or not. 1, 2, 3. And then neither of them says anything, and then they laugh, and it's like, oh, it's a cute bonding moment.
Yeah, it's nice. Like, early in the episode, you see that I is like sort of almost deliberately isolating herself, where she's staying at home all day. She's going out at night. She's not seeking other people out, like not even really talking to her mum at all.
Yeah.
And so she seems lonely, but also like deliberately she's doing this to herself, which is why it's kind of touching when you see her having this conversation with this person in this weird dream space, that it's like, oh, okay, you do actually want people around.
Yeah.
You would like someone to talk to. Yeah. It's sad.
But anyways, here come the see no evil little guys. Bah! And the cool girl like kind of tries to take I's hand to come with her to run away, but I doesn't take her hand because the monsters won't chase her. And she's like, I'm sorry. But cool girl is like, I understand. See ya.
Yeah, she lets her off the hook.
And oh no. But she leaves her pen behind, her multicolor pen.
And this is important.
Very important.
Very important.
Yes. And then so once they're all gone, I walks out to the roof, and that's when we see it was a friend statue, which is oh, by the way, the music is also bitchin'. I already got the first volume of the soundtrack. It's really good. I hope that person does more anime soundtracks. Too good for this show. and the art design team also did a lot of good stuff, because this visual of her friends, so she's on the school roof and there's like a statue hanging out over, like as if someone was frozen in place from like dropping off the roof, but there's all this cloth and it looks like it's kind of covering her eyes, and it's just very artsy. Yeah. I like it.
It's an interesting image and quite dramatic as well. And when do we learn about her friend? In which episode?
Yeah, this is when we first get the first flashback to Koito. So her friend's, the statue girl is named Koito, and something less tasteful, we see Koito's just fucking dead body smashed into the pavement and blood everywhere. Yeah. The very first glimpse of the fact this show maybe likes to revel in the edginess of the things that it's talking about. It's not a classy show. Yeah. And it's like, at this stage, you're like, okay, it's a little edgy, but, it's fine, whatever. But the more the show gets bad, the more you're like, this could have been more tasteful too, bad show. And then and eventually you realize, the show isn't trying to be tasteful. The show just likes this stuff. Anyway, getting ahead of ourselves. Yeah, but you see the flashback to Koito. They do a very good job of stressing how, like, pretty she is, I think. Yeah. But she's a girl with like brown hair and glasses, and it was I's one friend. Oh, because I had been bullied about her eyes, about, as you said, her rad anime eyes. Yeah. So she was kind of a loner. But Koito was a transfer student who made a point of trying to be friends with I think because she took sympathy on her. Yeah, and I's like, what, you don't think I'm ugly? And Koito's like, why would I think you're ugly? She's like, my horrible anime eye. Everyone bullies me for my anime eyes.
Everyone just gathers around me and goes, "What? You're gonna have magic powers? You're gonna fucking go on an adventure?"
Does your left arm, does it feel cursed at all? Then they have this fucking fake gay scene where Koito comes to her house, and I didn't know this was a real thing, and it's awesome because Ai has a bunk bed, but she just sleeps on the top bunk. I don't know why the fuck she has a bunk bed. She doesn't have any siblings. It's kind of a weird detail now that I think about it.
But I guess the underside is like storage, because small house and everything.
No, yeah, it's like I've had a bunk bed in my childhood, and I just put a bunch of plushies and stuff on the top. But it's because I had a sister. I mean, I have a sister. She's not dead.
And you don't share a bunk bed anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I on her top bunk where she sleeps, it has like a tent cover thing over it, which I guess is a real thing, but I'd never seen one before. I'm like, that's fucking rad. If I was a kid and I had like a fucking little tent on my top bunk, that'd be so fucking cool. Koito comes into it and she's like putting her head on Ai's feet, and it's very, wow, sure feels gay, but of course it's not.
No. Well, it's a thing of, I do feel like this is, I mean, even aside from the gay thing, there is like almost a sort of, not necessarily exaggeration, but there is this way that like girls being affectionate and close is played sometimes in anime.
Yeah.
And it's like played up a little bit where they're like, yeah, they get very touchy-feely very quickly. And this is like unusual because like Koito hasn't known Ai for very long.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, if someone did this in real life, you'd be like, oh, are you like just super horny or fucking creeper or what's going on here?
Yeah. Like if someone like who had known Ai for as long as Koito's no, this is weird. If they were like really, 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 really good friends or girlfriends or whatever, like, okay, maybe, but yeah, this is strange.
Yeah, and she like hugs her real hard and she's like, let's be best friends. But it's not supposed to be creepy, but it's a lot. And then it cuts to Ai sitting with the statue of Koito. She's kind of like sitting, it's another like really good shot where she's like kind of leaning up against the Koito statue. And the Koito statue cries a single tear, and it falls into Ai's mouth, which is pretty fucking gay, if you ask me.
It's very strange.
I don't know why the statue cried, by the way. Yeah, it's very strange, especially with us never finding anything about later. It's like, okay. But it's a very little sad moment. But then, oh, she sees the cool girl, and she's down on a roof that's like at a lower elevation to the side, and the girl's clapping for her, and she does a little, like double V, double peace sign, and she's like, oh, looks like you're doing okay, and I'm not dead yet, haha.
Yeah.
But then more monsters come and chase her, and Ai's like, no.
I can't remember the exact order. Did we find out that Ai, in those flashbacks, did we already see that Ai didn't act when Koito was being bullied yet?
That's the next episode.
Okay.
Like the more specifics of it. But you can kind of get the idea that like something like that probably happens.
Yeah. So like this is the point when we get the recontextualization that the thing about looking away when people are being bullied is something that Ai's guilty about, right? Or feels guilty about?
Or you could at least think that maybe that's the case, because obviously this girl killed herself. We knew that I was being bullied in the past, but like you also got the idea that maybe this girl is being bullied. But so Ai says, I'm done pretending not to see. And she does a running leap to get onto that other roof to help the girl. And cool music plays, and her multicolored pen transforms into this cool big, I don't know, how would you describe it?
It's kind of like a club. The pen gets real big, but also the little switches that let you switch colors turn into like these almost big sort of butterfly wing type things, but they're solid. So it's like a big colorful mace.
Yeah.
Essentially. Yeah.
It's awesome.
It is. It's a fucking cool design. Like it's a really cool weapon design.
Yeah, and she says, now I'm mad! And she splats the evil creepypasta girl's head in, and there's like an explosion of blood, which is pretty funny. More music plays over the PA system as she does the double V back at the other girl, and it's like, yeah, we're cool. And the other girl says, I'm Saijo Kurumi. Don't forget me, okay? Phoenix, she says, don't forget me, Phoenix. Phoenix, she says, don't forget me. Saijo Kurumi never will come up or be mentioned or thought of again, says, don't forget me. And she explodes into dust.
Yeah, she's gone.
My girl, my girl.
Yeah. And she's gone. And you still get the impression, though, that Ai's done something for her here.
Yeah.
Like she's saved her from being attacked by the monsters, essentially.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, and the guy comes over, the PA, and is like, too bad, only you get saved, but you have to cheer up if you want to get your best friend back. And she goes back to the Koito statue and knows it's a bit warmer now. Maybe if she saves girls like Kurumi, then at some point she'll come back to life or something.
Mm.
Then she wakes up from the dream.
Yeah, but there is a bit where like she directly asks the cicada or something that, and the cicada refuses to like give her a straight answer.
Yeah, he kind of dodges.
Yeah.
So we were definitely waiting for there to be like some kind of twist of like, when I thought this show might be fucking going somewhere that made sense, I thought that maybe it was going to be like this was all about helping the girls come to terms with the death of their friend.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
So the statue disappearing would really be about them having found, what do you call it?
Closure.
Like having come to terms and having found closure.
Yeah. Even with the second episode as well, and then the third, even as those episodes sort of got stupid, there were little elements of I working through different thoughts about Koito.
Yeah.
And so you sort of, at first you did get the impression, oh, okay, this is going to be about girls metaphorically working through their grief via rad anime dream battles.
And that's when you need to turn the show off. But since we don't have that, let's she wakes up from the dream and she's eating breakfast with her mom and her nose starts bleeding and then the wound comes back and she passes out.
Yeah, her hoodie is like soaked with blood because that wound was a serious wound. Like
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you see her in the hospital and like her mother's in tears because she's like, what the fuck happened? Like, what happened to my daughter?
But you know who comes to comfort her? The cool teacher guy. Cool, not creepy teacher man comes to comfort her.
That's awesome. Yeah.
He's a cool guy.
Love him.
But she recovers surprisingly quickly, and then you see her, and so that kind of thing where it's like end of the first episode, some BGM is playing in the background while the credits start, and it's like we're setting up for later adventures. And so she's running with a cicada and talking to it as she's going back to the whimsical eggland, and she sees a bunch of eggs like in little like things in water.
They're kind of like incubators almost.
Yeah. And she's like, was she also a statue somewhere? Oh, she did remember her for the rest of the episode.
Yes.
So she'll, and I do like that she says like, oh, did she also kill herself? And the little cicada guy says, no commento. and he's like flying away. He's like, no commento.
Yeah, that was sort of funny.
It was cute. But then she follows it and you see Akka and Ura-Akka, the boys, the mannequin men.
Yeah.
These motherfuckers.
Yeah. I mean, we didn't know they were going to be motherfuckers at this point, but
you also see Nehru at the end of Ep 1, so it's like, oh shit, there's more girls that are also battling the egg things and getting the gotcha eggs, because there's a gachapon machine you get the eggs from, and it's like, oh shit, she could become friends with this girl, they're going to be saving people, oh fuck. Get hype.
Yeah. There's so many interesting ways this could have gone,
Yeah.
There's also more interesting, less fucking stupid, edgy ways this could have gone too. I don't know. There's something about like including the whole suicide angle. It's one of those things where like at first it did seem like, okay, this is a little bit edgy, and there's lots of gore and stuff in the show as well too. So like, oh, okay, we're being a bit edgy here. But if we're going to be actually thoughtful about this topic, that's okay to sort of deal with such a serious thing. But obviously the more the show goes on, it isn't a thoughtful show and, it was just being edgy.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, if I was reworking the show, I'm okay with it being a bit edgy and it all being like girls with friends who killed themselves. Just less of the fucking sexual assaults all the time, every time.
Yeah,
and that's the thing in shows like this. No one ever just kind of killed themselves because of general depression or minor things or whatever. Everyone always has to have some ridiculously edgy, horrible thing that happened that made them kill themselves.
Yeah. So I mean, we talked about this in the taster, but the idea that like suicide has to be justified as a rational action. It's like, that's not what it is. Like, oh no, yeah, we have to create these scenarios where it's obvious the only way they could get out of it was killing themselves. I was like, no, you fucking...
Phoenix, boys kill themselves for rational reasons. Girls kill themselves for emotional reasons.
Even aside from the gross sexism of their statement, just the concept of goal-oriented suicide is just such a fucking weird thing to describe. Like,
every boy that kills themselves, they did a pro and con sheet. They worked out the actuarial tables. They got it together.
There's a very good but very disturbing documentary about the Golden Gate Bridge. Are you familiar with that one?
Oh, about people who kill themselves on it?
Yeah.
I think I've heard of it.
It's a documentary about suicide. It has interviews with the families of people who killed themselves, and also one person who survived jumping off the bridge.
Oh, jeez.
But the film is interspersed with basically they got cameras and camped out outside the bridge for a couple of months and just filmed people walking on the bridge. And during that time, they caught about 6 people killing themselves. And
Do they show it?
they show it in the film. Yeah,
Holy fuck.
they're trying to make a point about suicide, and also they're also because there've been people calling for suicide barriers to be put on the Golden Gate Bridge for years, but they keep. I don't know if they're there or not anymore, but yet. But it was one of those things they keep refusing for aesthetic reasons, basically.
Yeah, so that seems like a good way to say, like, look at this, look at what fucking happens since you refuse to do this.
The other point the film makes, though, is that the suicide is often an impulsive reaction, because you see people like the people that are doing it in the film, like one of them is like on the phone to someone and like laughing to like talking to someone for a bit, and then they hang up and kill themselves.
Jesus.
The point that the film was making was that, like, partially is you want suicide barriers because if you put any barrier in between someone killing themselves, you've got a good chance of stopping them from doing it in that moment.
Yeah.
But it's also about just trying to teach you about how suicide works, about how it is not a rational action. And that's what's so annoying about shows like...
This is the thing. They talk about that in some ways. You know, they say it's irrational and that people are like overcome with things, but then everything that happens to the girls makes it like so. Yeah, it doesn't seem that irrational.
No, that's that's what's frustrating about shows like Wonder Egg Priority when they talk about suicide, or really any show that is ignorant when it talks about a topic like this. Because I think it's fair to say that Wonder Egg is a pretty fucking ignorant show.
Oh, yeah.
Like the guy who wrote it doesn't seem to understand much about suicide or sexual assault or any of the shit he's talking about.
Yeah.
It's all just like edgy shit to put in his show because he likes edgy shit. So like, Wonder Egg is not the only show that does like suicide stories where insane, terrible things happen to a person and that's why they kill themselves, as opposed to people do it for very mundane and irrational reasons. And that's one of the things that really frustrates me about this show in general.
Yeah.
Because it does the same thing when it talks about bullying and sexual assault and all these other things too. And it's just, it's so distasteful. It's so like gross and distasteful to just toy with this shit when you don't know anything about it. Anyway.
Yeah. And that's why this episode, part of why it feels better than later episodes is, again, like with the bullying and stuff, it didn't get too into reveling in it.
No.
It didn't get too into the details. It's just like, you get it. This girl was bullied. Nobody helped her. I had a friend that died and she felt like she wasn't able to do anything about it. And then she does something and it's very cathartic and it's good. And then she feels good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And God damn it.
Yeah. And like the closest it gets to reveling is, like we said, that slightly gratuitous shot of Koito on the ground. But even then, it's like, at this point, it felt like it was going to be a thoughtful show. Obviously, things change.
Yeah, and it's like you could make a case for, you know, like it's just showing how, like, the actual brutality of, like, just becoming a body on the ground.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, like, this was a person that was your friend, and now it's just this fucking body with blood on it.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, so,
Episode 2!
Yeah.
So Ai's trying to be friends with this other girl whose name is Nehru. So she's the first other girl we meet. Her design is interesting because she's actually got slightly darker skin. So she looks like some kind of POC maybe. And she's got like a little British schoolgirl uniform kind of dress.
Yeah, it's like, I wouldn't even call it a school uniform. It's just a very plain grey dress. Like, it feels like it's from a different era where like girls had to be as modest as possible or something. It's very strange.
But it's short though, which is part of what makes it look like a little schoolgirl dress. And you'll, in her action scenes later, she's like got like fucking little pumpkin bloomers because of course she's so logical, but she's not logical enough to wear fucking pants. It almost feels like they're trying to say she's foreign, but they don't know what foreign people dress like, so they just dressed her like a little sailor girl.
Her design is odd. It's just like,
yeah.
Of the 3 friends, her design is the one where I'm just sort of like, I don't really know what you were going for there.
Yeah, and it doesn't really speak to her character other than seems foreign.
Yeah, but I don't know that's a big part of her character either. Like character-wise, she's just this very kude, cold, straightforward, monotone girl who's very serious about the whole egg thing.
Yeah, she's too logical for female society. That's the thing she says later.
Okay.
But she's trying to be friends with this girl, and she's like, no, I'm too kudere. And she's like, so what are you fighting for? And I was like, oh, Koito-chan, of course. And she's like, are you sure it's not for yourself? Are you sure you don't just keep going back because you hate yourself and you want to change? And it's like, you're bringing up the possible themes. Okay, that's solid.
It's a very forward thing to say to a person you just met.
Yeah. Well, obviously, she's kudere. And I's like, what about you? And she's like, me? I love myself. I fight for my sister because I let her die. Which doesn't really make sense as we find it later, but it really feels like these episodes were written like one at a time without any idea what the fuck was going to be in the next episode.
That definitely feels like the vibe by the time you get to the shit that was happening at the end.
It's so weird in that way.
Yeah. Well, we have to get to that.
Yeah. Okay. So, the OP plays, which also becomes hilarious the further the show goes on. Both the opening and the ending become fucking hilarious. Because the opening is like this like graduation song. It makes it seem like it's going to be all introspective about, like girls and growing up and like being empowered maybe or whatever and thoughtful. And so the more it becomes edgy bullshit trash, it's just like, are you mocking me? And then I gets home and her mom is here and the teacher man.
Right. Cool.
And so at this point, you're like, okay, so it seems like he's fucking her mom from this framing,
Well, I mean, when you say that, when Cube says from this framing, it's not a frame where it looks like he's fucking her mum. It's, it just seems like they know each other.
Oh yeah, it's just that general thing of like she comes home and her mom comes out and the guy comes out from behind her like, yes, I was in the same room with your mother. And it just seems very like this is a situation where they're fucking.
Yeah.
They fucking. So they're trying to ask Ai about what the fuck happened that made her get a giant wound in her stomach. So she just goes to sleep and wakes up with that horrible wound. Yeah,
it's kind of like, this was one of the parts that started to make me a little bit uncomfortable because it's almost sort of like, obviously Ai seems very depressed. If you were looking at this from the mum's perspective, Ai seems super depressed. Obviously she's had this terrible thing that's happened to her. And now this kind of looks like self-harm, Or like kind of absurd, to an absurd level, because like to be able to give herself that wound.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's like, I guess I wouldn't assume this particular wound was self-harm.
But that's kind of the vibe, you know what I mean? Like, it's that it sort of to me was like, oh, I really hope we don't. This doesn't become a thing where they have to come back with injuries every time, and everyone's going to think that she's hurting herself. And
but, don't worry, we have different things to do with self-harm. So very importantly, the teacher is like, do you not like me, Ai? And she's like, that's not it. So that's good. It's good to know that she doesn't hate him. It's good to know she doesn't hate her teacher. So we got to find out more about how she feels about her teacher. Nehru gives her contact information to Ai, and she's like, here's my contact information. I'll go on even days and you go on odd days, and we don't have to see each other anymore because she's so fucking good. Kudere.
It was, yeah, that part was like, oh, fuck, all right.
But then she says, good luck in English, and it's cute. That's how you know she's so fucking mysterious and foreign. She says good luck in English. and bam, cut to Ai back in her school dreamland with a new eggie. And this is another one of the things of like, eyebrows when this girl comes out and you see how her design is.
Yeah. Did we see her buy an egg in this episode, or are we not up to that point yet?
I think we do see her purchase one.
Okay.
She gets one from the gotcha machine.
Yeah.
I think it's like it happens real quick, maybe with like other dialogue over it.
Were the mannequins there?
Yeah, we saw them last episode.
Oh, okay.
They're always around.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So we didn't really talk about like what the mannequins look like or whatever, because this is important. Because so there's Aka and Uraaka. And Aka is like a blank face mannequin guy with glasses, and Uraaka is a blank face mannequin guy that looks like he's dressed like a punk.
Yeah, kind of like a stoner, maybe.
If he was a stoner in Japan, he would look like a fucking terrifying hardened criminal.
Is that
because that's what they think marijuana is like?
Oh, okay. I'm not sure what the stoner stereotype is for people who smoke weed in Japan.
Well, it's like Japan has no real like distinction between hard and soft drugs. So like everything is just like the same level of, oh my God, it's a fucking illegal drugs.
Oh,
And
okay.
you'll go to jail real bad if you have marijuana. And like there's a chapter of Detective Conan where like part of the backstory is, and all the people at this mansion did marijuana and then they all killed each other.
Aww.
Oh, weed.
Like Reefer Madness or something. Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. So anyways, he just looks like punk. And so they'll be around and you're kind of like, okay, are these guys gonna, they seem like they're probably gonna be a Cube thing where they're secretly bad guys or something, just because seems like the kind of thing that would happen.
Yeah. I mean, that was the assumption. There was no way everyone watching this was watching it going, I mean, there's not, they're not going to be just like good guys. We don't do that anymore.
Yeah, these guys look super trustworthy. These faceless mannequin men. But anyway, so the girl, she breaks out of the egg and it's a girl with glasses and her hair tied up and she's wearing a school sports uniform jacket over a leotard. So she's got like the little leotard bottom and then bare legs and it looks a little like...
Yeah, not sure.
Yeah. And this one doesn't know what's going on and she freaks out and she just runs away and I's like, well, wait. But they go to the roof together and they bond a bit, which is like one of the last times I feel like, you really get a nice kind of wholesome bonding moment between two of the girls. And you find out that the girl is an acrobat. She has a coach that sure sounds harsh though. When she talks about her, it sounds like a pretty harsh coach.
Yeah. Now, was this a scene where at one point I talks to one of the mannequins via like a tube or something?
Yeah. So the mannequin boys who was also the cicada, they'll just like talk to her through various things in the dream, and sometimes kind of funny, like the toilet paper.
Now, this one was like, again, like there was episode 1 was generally good, and episode 4 was the definite okay. But in episodes 2 and 3, there were still little moments where I started to get worried. And in episode 2, this was the moment for me because I can't remember exactly how this goes, but I was sort of asking for instructions because her plan this time was just to keep. She asks, like, aren't we just supposed to keep running away from the monster until like morning?
Oh yeah,
whatever?
and they're like, you can't just protect her; you have to defeat the Wonder Killer.
Yeah, and she's saying, well, why can't we just run away? And one of the mannequins sends back to her, how do you solve anything by just running away? And I was just like, oh, God damn it, it's Ruby again.
Look,
It's fucking Blake. It's fucking Blake all over again.
look,
You can't just run away from abusive situations.
I'll forgive it. If the show was more about Ai's actual perspective in a consistent way, I'd get down with it being about her learning to be more proactive and shit.
Yeah.
It's more in combo with everything else that it's like, this isn't the actual issue. The actual issue is that all these girls are getting molested all the fucking time.
Yeah, like in terms of this girl's problem, it's that she has this abusive coach who is like physically abusing her. And it's like running away from this coach and just staying away from her is an absolutely valid reaction, like, and response to what is happening.
I think in this case, it's still more just supposed to be about Ai's issue, even though she kind of overcame that last time. So
Yeah, that's part of it for me too. It's just like, obviously in Ruby, it handled a bit worse because it's directly like about how you shouldn't run away from abusive people. But in this one, it still felt like it was sort of meshing the two by putting them in the same story this way. And I was kind of like,
Also, hey, Saw, did you hit that timer to the stopwatch to the Ruby came up? Call it. So this is something that I actually forgot later on. So when the coach first shows up, she's that same kind of creepypasta person because she's like a big coach lady, but she's got the
Scrubbed out
pixelated
face.
face with the lips.
Yeah.
And this is the last time we'll see that. So they got over that. They pick up and drop motifs like nobody's business because she transforms, and I'm gonna demand that Phoenix describe her transformation look.
So when she transforms, she becomes like a big, colorful monster who was like a giant, bloated human, sort of.
Okay.
And the most notable thing about her is that she has these giant, lengthy boobs that squirt paint everywhere.
Like ya Do.
Now, it's a very, I think it's fair to say it's a striking image. Like, you definitely remember it and think about it a lot. I just, like, this was at the point where we still thought the show might be good, and you're sort of just looking at it going, okay, I mean, you're being sort of weird and edgy, but all right. Later on, considering what the show has to say about women later on, I'm just like, okay, no, this was bad.
Yeah, and like I remember even in the watch party, I was like, there is something, you know, like kind of creepy and gross to this, but also it's very just a hentai thing. Like this is just a thing that you would see in normal hentai, I feel like.
Yeah, potentially, yeah.
Squirty fucking boobs.
You say normal hentai, but yeah, I know what you mean.
I mean, I guess like how does one define normal hentai?
There's a sliding scale.
Yeah, I'll leave that to the eggheads in Washington. So it's time for another Koito flashback. Pew, 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 pew. So this one is Koito and I looking at Koito's gym clothes that have been destroyed and left out by other girls. And she's like, oh, why did they do that? Or I says that, and Koito's like, oh, I think the other girls are jealous because Sasaki sensei, the creeper teacher, gives me special treatment.
Yeah.
And I'm like, was he molesting her? Was this, I don't like it.
Were you ever going to learn about what was going on?
Just you fucking wait. And then we see the thing where I was like, even when I was still kind of into the show, I was like, oh, fucking K. Because we see the flashback of I hiding in the locker while the girls are doing some kind of bullying thing to Koito that involves taking her clothes off. Because of course it does.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, anime bullying, how do you do?
Yeah. And this isn't like hinted at like it was in the first episode or briefly passed over. It's like, no, we're going to spend some time while this is happening and stuff. And so the idea was that I was going to hide in a locker and film this happening so that I have evidence and be able to stop it from happening or tell a teacher or something. But
Yeah.
I was too scared, and she didn't pop out, and she didn't put her camera out so she could film it, and so it just took place, and the girls left, and she came out and was just apologizing to Koito for not being able to help her.
Yeah, but Koito was very understanding. She's like, it's fine, you know, it is what it is. It must have been scary. I'm sorry for asking you to do that.
Yeah, yeah. Just sort of.
So she's like, no, I'm not going to be like that. I'm going to change. I'm going to go save that gym girl. Because the gym girl had been taken away by the booby manager.
Because she tried to fight the booby manager and got her ass kicked at first, didn't she?
Yeah, I think she got like kind of hit away. And the girl went with her because the girl was like, yes, it's all my fault. I'm sorry, manager. And so she went with her.
Yeah. Goes and finds the gym teacher and the girl. And the gym teacher's just sort of beating the shit out of the girl under the guise of, you know, practice, and she's not trying hard enough and all that sort of stuff. So we get an idea of what the physical and mental abuse this girl was undergoing was. And we spend a bit of time on that, which again, like, okay, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's only been much.
Yeah.
But the acrobat girl's like, yes, it's all my fault. It's all my fault. These things happen to me. And I was like, no, you should fucking blame yourself. And then Acrobat Girl's ribbon that she had with her, like for ribbon dancing or whatever, glows, and now it's a whip of light. And it's like, oh shit, she's gonna like fucking get a weapon from every girl, and she's gonna use them, and that's pretty cool, actually. This sure was cool. And so she's fighting the boob monster with the whip of light, but then the boob monster sploots with her boobs, with the paint sploot boobs, and eyes are covered in boob sploot paint, and she can't see.
Yeah, no, this was a thing, wasn't it? About they mentioned something about like you can't be injured, but just don't make sure your eyes don't get covered or something. Didn't they say something like that?
Oh yeah, they do say something about that. LOL.
It doesn't really come up as a thing. It's just like she got her eyes.
Again, it's something they said only for the sake of this episode.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But then the acrobat girl is helping her. She's like telling her where to go, and they're working together. So she's able to beat the lady, and she splats, and it's like, haha, gotcha. And they're talking a bit more while the music plays, because during these early episodes, and then not again, they get to actually have a little talks while and there's the music, and then they poof, and I miss that. And Or I guess that kind of happens later, but this girl also asked to be remembered.
Yeah,
Damn it.
it's a very. This conversation is real sad.
Maybe in the special end episode, Ai's gonna suddenly remember all these girls and how important they are to her.
The girls rarely come out and say that they killed themselves, but they're sort of usually. I found at least in the first 2 episodes, it's sort of acknowledged in these conversations.
Yeah.
And because she's talking to I, and she says, "I I think we could have been friends, if we'd met before." It's just like, oh, this was already a thing that was making me think I didn't know if I was going to be able to stick with this show, even if it was good, because this is just this is tough.
Yeah.
This is a really sad thing to continually deal with week to week.
The bummer thing for me is that as the show goes on, it feels like it gives less and less of a shit about these dead girls.
Oh yeah, no, totally.
Which it feels really shitty to just be like, anyways, here's the dead girl for this week. Oh, she's crazy or whatever. Okay, that's not important to what's happening. And it's like, it should be.
Yeah.
She's a girl that fucking killed herself.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's part of it, is it's like when we thought it was going to be about these girls in some way helping these other girls who are dealing with the loss of someone who killed themselves, it felt like at least that there was they were sort of giving something back, and they were having some effect on the real world by helping the girls who were dealing with the loss of a friend who killed themselves. You know what I mean? Even in death, even though they'd lost their lives and maybe they weren't going to come back, they were still able to do something to help someone, even in death, and that gave
like they kind of found peace, and through helping them find peace.
Yeah, and that gives them some meaning after death and everything. So as much as it's just like it's really fucking sad that they're all dead, there was still like a kind of a purpose to them being in this world and helping these other girls, and it did seem like that's part of what was happening with I was like sort of semi-metaphorically, talking to girls who had killed themselves would help her to understand what had happened to Koito to some extent, like it's all part of this process of dealing with the grief, which is what we thought the show was doing at first. And so we're still kind of like, oh man, okay, this is tough, but I kind of see what you're doing. I feel like I see what you're doing.
Yeah, I want that show.
Which is why it went later on when the girls who kill themselves are just there to are just these girls who here's a story about a girl who really fucking suffered. Oh, she suffered so much. Wasn't it horrible what happened to her? Anyway, bye. That's when that happens. It's like that's when it feels like massively disrespectful.
Yeah,
it's like, oh, okay, now you're just having fun with, yeah.
Anyways, cut back to I in the hospital again, and she's like in a neck brace, and her mom's just like, I don't know what the fuck's going on.
I mean, hang on. To be fair, she doesn't say it in that voice. She's like,
hey, I'm his mom. I don't know.
She's like sobbing.
I'm your loving mother. I
don't know what the fuck's going on.
No. I'm Willow. But they see Nehru, this mysterious foreigner girl, being wheeled in super injured. She's all fucked up.
Yeah.
And the Akkas talk about how she always gets a ton of eggies, and maybe she's pushing herself so hard because she secretly wants to die or something. Oh, shit.
Yeah. She's going hard at the egg.
I'm sure that'll be relevant to later, and they won't completely forget they said that. Whoa.
I wonder if that's
and
the
you
case.
get this really quick flashback of I and Koito, and I sees Koito being bumped by the teacher from behind very lightly as he walks by her, and then she turns as if she's going to follow him. And that's the entire flashback. And I don't know how the fuck you're supposed to read that as not he's like fucking her or something.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, what the fuck is the point of that flashback?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't see the rest of the show, but I just got such awful vibes off that teacher and all the stuff they were trying to set up there.
Yeah.
It all seemed like it was pointing in one direction. Like, ugh. Anyway.
And yeah, in terms of what's going on between Koito and the teacher, the answer is actually nothing. So what the fuck is that flashback?
Well, I think it's like you said, they just want you to think the teacher's creepy. But they don't care about how this feeds into the continuity or anything.
Yeah, it really is just the show is just fucking with you, and it's like just to be she seems like a rapist, huh? Sure makes you think he's a rapist. Woo.
Yeah.
And it's why would you do that? What the fuck is wrong with your TV show?
Well, that's a really good question. Episode 3?
Wait, no, because there's still hope for this show at this point. God damn it, because I goes to Nehru's room and she's talking with her through text, and she's like, "It's because you push yourself too hard. I should go with you next time." And they end up like hanging out on the roof, and they have like a really cute little like tsundere roof date where they're drinking juice together, and Nehru sends her a text message back finally that's just a thumbs up, like, yeah, let's work together, and she smiles a little, and it's cute and friendship.
Well, that was the other aspect we thought might come about, was that, like, you know, she's going to connect with other girls who are going through something similar to what she's going through. And you get this community of girls who sort of work through their stuff together, and that's nice. I mean, that's the thing that happens. Fucking hell, the show didn't do anything it could have.
And the ending plays, which is just like little like Polaroid looking things of the different girls, and it's like, oh, so wholesome, ha 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 ha.
That's the thing. Like
episode 3.
That's the thing about this. Like, the show is occasionally moe. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
They're cutesy girls doing cutesy, wholesome things. And it's just like, is that one of the other reasons that it fools people? It has those little flashes of that occasionally. I don't get it.
Yeah, it's kind of like in that a silent voice way, where it's like uplifting music is playing and the cute anime people are smiling. So I am going to accept that this is all good. That's what's happening. We learned a lesson or something.
Yeah, God, how did I not compare this to A Silent Voice? That even has a ton of suicide in it too, like silly suicide.
That's what I was thinking about. I was like, see, the main character of that, the boy, he committed that logical suicide. He got all of his shit in order.
God.
God damn it. Episode 3 opens with our first rapey monster. Start the counter.
Yeah.
Because we see the girl whose design I fucking love, and she's fighting a monster who's just like, I just love young women. Touching. And Rika kills him, and the girl's like, thank you, and poofs, but we only like see her legs and hands, so we're already starting to get into that kind of like, it doesn't matter who the fuck that was.
Yeah. And she's got a statue in the middle of a field of some girl who she's sort of rude to as she speaks to her. And this is like, I
mean, she's constantly is just like, ew, look at this gross fatty piece of shit, and then she kicks her and she's like, I hate you.
Yeah, this is a thing.
So Rika is the modern conception, the bold 2020s conception of a tsundere, which is that she's just a piece of shit person all the time, but occasionally she's like, and you're like, damn, what a good girl after all, I've decided for no reason.
Yeah. She's just, we talked about her a bit. Well, I talked about her a bit in the taster. Can we just talk about her whole deal now? Because, like, I don't know if we need to go through this chronology.
Sure. We'll find this out later, whatever.
Yeah, her deal was that she was an idol. Not a particularly popular one, but she was an idol in a group. And she had this one fan who would come to all of their handshake events and give her gifts and all of her money. And she thought at first that the girl was wealthy, but then it turned out that the girl was just like driving herself broke, just giving everything she had to Rika, and even got caught shoplifting once and like got into trouble for it because she was, she had no money. So Rika felt really bad about this. She feels bad. She feels bad.
Bad.
She feels so bad that this girl who clearly has like, a sort of unhealthy obsession with Rika, in a wholesome way, kind of, but like, she's got to do something about this because she wants to help her. She doesn't want to see her getting in trouble. Because she feels bad. She's empathetic. She has empathy. Mm-hmm. She's this character with empathy. She's like, oh no, there's terrible things happening to this person.
And so no matter how shitty she is, it's okay because she meant well.
Yeah, so what she does in order to prevent this girl from giving her any more of her stuff is that at a public event in front of other people, she tells her that she's fat and gross and horrible and she never wants to see her again. And then that girl goes away and kills herself. And I just, yeah.
So don't you feel bad for Rika?
This is just like, I don't buy this character at all. This is such a dumb anime thing. Like, or just like dumb character writing in general. It's like a person who has the capacity for empathy to feel bad for the fact that this is happening to this person to then go and do something that unbelievably cruel. I don't buy that as a thing that a real person does. And that's like, she was the next level of, don't know about this show, because where I seemed like she was a little more real at first and was dealing with some real things, Rika's not a real character. We're not exploring anything real here. Like, she's just. I think maybe they wanted a character who had been a bully. Like, they wanted to have that spin on the thing they were dealing with, but they also didn't want to commit to just making her a bad person. So they had to try and come up with this way that made it seem like she meant well.
Yeah, that's the bullshit thing is, like, if it had accepted that she had just been a piece of shit and had, you know, like, told this girl this horrible thing without realizing that it might actually result in her killing herself, I would be much more interested in her because, you know, like, then she'd have to grow as a character in an interesting way. But that's not your modern tsundere. It's just that you figure out that she's perfectly fine for the piece of shit she is.
If she had just been mean to this person for no good reason, like if she'd been this person who just didn't like this fan showing up all the time and said something shitty, and now was dealing with the fact that maybe she was a bad person and wasn't sure how to cope with that. Even the stuff where she's sort of outwardly acting like a piece of shit could have made sense. Because that's the other thing about her is that throughout this episode, she acts like a piece of shit. Like, she's still talking about the person who killed themselves as her wallet, and she wants her back because she wants free money, and still calls her fat and ugly and all this sort of stuff, until you eventually realize that, oh, no, she actually feels bad. But she's still doing all this horrible shit.
Because that's the thing is, like, the resolution of that isn't so she learns to act better. The resolution of that is, oh, she actually does care about her, so it's fine.
Yeah. That's like there's no growth on her part. It's just that we get revealed this part of her character that makes it all fine. But it doesn't, and this isn't a real person, and this is just, yeah. As much as the design was nice, I just sort of looked at this character and went, eh.
Oh yeah, because that's the thing. She has skinny jeans, and she has, like, blonde hair, and she has, like, a big varsity jacket. And so especially when she's fighting and she has her big puffy varsity jacket and her skinny jeans, the way that they animate her is just, like, really rad and just, like, a good, like, character shape thing going on, and I like it.
That's the worst thing about this show is, well, no, it's not. It's one of the things that bugs me about this show is that, fuck, it looks good. A lot of the time.
Oh yeah, the fucking fight Sakuga in this episode is so goddamn good.
Yeah, and it's just a bummer because it's a bad show. It's a bad show,
Yeah.
bad ideas. But yeah.
And something I did notice in that first scene where we see her fighting the monster is that her weapons look like cutters, which are like, I don't know if there's a proper English word for them because it's like, they're like tiny box cutters that you would use instead of like an X-Acto knife.
Yeah.
In Japan, you just call them cutters, but they're well known as the generic thing that a teenage girl would cut herself with. So as soon as I saw that was her weapon, I was like, I think I know where this is going.
I think I've got one of those at the office. It's good for opening up packages.
Oh, they're convenient as fuck. Like, I would use those to cut the little texture things for my comics and whatnot, because, yeah, they're just perfect for cutting little things. And also for cutting skin.
Yeah, that was the first warning sign with Rika and her whole deal that we're going to learn about more later. Anywai.
So we see Ai buying a next egg, and that's when she sees Rika for the first time, and Rika is like falling over, and she's like, my ribs, ow! And the mannequins are like, too bad, that's what happens. And you're like, whoa, shitty mannequins. And then she's like, haha, I was lying. My name's Rika. Hi, what's up? So it's just like, okay, I guess she's just like she just lies for no reason. That's just her thing.
Yeah. Well, she's always trying to scam people out of money, right? That's kind of a thing.
Yeah, because she's immediately like, hey, girl, I forgot my wallet. Can you pay for my eggie? They never establish how much the eggs cost, but it seems like it can't be too much.
No, she's just a tight ass.
And the next day when Ai goes to leave her house, Rika's just there waiting outside her house, and she's just like, hi, we're friends now, what's up, fucker? So Ai takes Rika to visit Nehru in the hospital, and they're all like hanging out, talking in the hospital. And what's weird is Ai brought an egg for Nehru, even though Nehru is still hospitalized. And it's like, I'm pretty sure if you can't go get your fucking own egg physically, you probably shouldn't be doing the eggy fights.
Probably not, no. Maybe she's just like banking them.
Just go buy them later. And that's when Rika says that she used to be an idol, which almost like, you would almost think that that's a lie based on some stuff later, except that we actually keep seeing, like actual flashbacks to it and shit.
And she was, yeah. Like she's not making it up. She actually was an idol.
That part of her backstory never factors into anything later, even as we have like more really loaded stuff with her backstory. So it's just such a random thing to be like, also she was an idol, shrug.
Well, it's really only to set up her backstory with this other character. But other than that, yeah, it doesn't matter. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's like it could have been any other kind of bullying,
Mm.
but all girls are idols, so whatever. Nowadays. So Rika comes home with I, and the teacher's there again, and she's like, "Wow, that's a good-looking dad you have." And I's like, "He's not my dad."
Can I stop? That's just a fucking weird thing to say to a person. Hey, your dad's hot. Who says that?
Rika likes to say things that are weird things to say to people.
I guess that's true.
This is a bad person to be around. And so in the back in I's room, they're talking about how, yeah, he's the school counselor, and Rika ribs I about like, hey, well, do you like him? And that's when she talks about how the statue girl was her fan, that she would call her wallets.
Mm.
And she says something that she says several times later, which is, my daddy says a beautiful woman doesn't need a wallet. Someone will always pay for her. He got divorced, though. And that will make there's a whole episode about her dad that just like literally makes no sense. It feels like there were two different versions of the script that accidentally got chopped together. And it's really fucking weird. But for this episode, her dad just is someone that she knew, but then they got divorced.
Yeah, and he's a piece of shit.
Yeah, and then she just decides that she's staying the night, and it's fine.
Are we meant to kind of think that she might be homeless?
I guess, or at least that she has, I think she, at some point soon, she mentions that her mom, like, sucks.
Mm.
So you get the idea that maybe she has, like, an abusive or a shitty mom or something, and that's why she's avoiding going home.
Yeah.
But so she's like, yeah, I'm staying the night, and that's when you see her in the bath with her cutting scars. Oh, yeah, and I's like, are you going to call your mom? And she's like, I don't want to talk to that person. So it was like, okay, so she doesn't like her mom.
Mm.
And then she says to herself, nope, I'm not going to cut. I promised. I'm not going to do that anymore. I'll be interesting later. And then flashback time. Pew. We see a very important scene of I seeing, she goes into an empty classroom, but Koito is there, like in the counselor teacher's arms, and she's crying, and he's like holding her, and I runs away and is like crying, and it's like, is it jealousy, you know? And it's like, oh no.
What are we supposed to take from this? Someone tell us, please.
How creeped out are we supposed to be? Anyways, bam, she's in Rika's dream now. And Rika's dream zone, I do like, so all of their dream zones are based on where their friend killed themselves.
Mm.
So Rika's dream zone is a beach with like a cliff and stuff, and it's much more like idyllic and open looking.
Mm.
And so apparently their brain waves sleep zone kind of linked up because they were sleeping so close to each other and were thinking about the same things or whatever.
Sure, yeah. Why not? Okay.
And they crack their eggs together, and the silly suicide idol fan girls come out.
Yeah, so this was weird because there's no angst associated with the suicide of these two girls. They two girls they were big fans of an idol, and their idol killed themselves, so they did too. But it's kind of played as like black comedy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just like a really dark joke, and that's as much as we get on those two, really.
And I wouldn't be too mad about that if it was just like, okay, like for the sake of, you know, this particular thing, we don't need to worry too much about these girls, so they made them kind of silly,
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah.
But considering later, like, there's so much less empathy for all these dead girls, it's just like, this is the first time where it's just like, stupid idol fans killed themselves, goofs.
Yeah, yeah.
And so like a bunch of Xenos come up and they kill him with lots of super good sakuga, but then Rika gets bitten in the arm by one and they have to retreat to the lighthouse. And that's when I sees Rika's cutting scars, and Rika reveals a bunch of her backstory with Chiemi, with the fan girl, and how she told her to kill herself and blah blah.
Yeah.
And at one point, when she talks about how Chiemi would shoplift to give her money, the idol fan girls say, they're like, oh yeah, I get it. Yeah, we even had sugar daddies, haha. And that's when I was like, I'm not okay with that. It's just a haha joke thing that nobody remarks upon.
Yeah, no, that's not cool. That's really bad. Like,
you know, these fucking teenagers having sugar daddies. It's silly and not a problem, and don't worry about it.
yeah. And like, there was a good line in here. I can't remember how they got to it, there's a moment where Ai's frustration boils over with Koito.
Yeah.
So maybe you can describe this a bit better because I can't quite remember how it plays out.
I think a lot of it's about like lies and not understanding the other person's perspective. So as the Xenos are attacking and they're climbing the stairs of the lighthouse, she's like, yeah, I resented Koito for not telling me about, how she was feeling. And so I didn't understand how she felt and why she killed herself.
Yeah. Which again was one of the like the last periods for me at least where I was like, okay, we're still talking about the sort of feelings that people who are like suicide survivors, as in the people who are left behind by a suicide, feel. Like that's a real emotion that people who, if they know someone has killed themselves feel.
Yeah.
Being pissed off that you didn't, that with and feeling terrible about that, because obviously you feel terrible about that, but that's a real very valid feeling. And that's like, so I was still like, oh man, there still seems like they're talking about this stuff, But,
yeah. God damn it.
Yeah.
And Rika does say, like, I'll kill as many as it takes to see Chiemi again. Pa. See, it's okay that she's such a piece of shit because she means well. and I is like, yeah, because I want to see Koito again and understand her perspective.
Mm.
And she kind of, in her internal monologue, implies that, like, if Koito had, like, asked her to, she would have died with her. Like, that's how, like, close she was with her.
Mm.
But then she needs to see Koito again. So she's like, hell yeah, Rika, I'll kill him with you. And she does like a big smarmy, like, hell yeah, voice face. And then this monster killer shows up, which is a silly Muppet lady that is a stalker that got arrested for stalking the idol that the two dead girls liked. And I have no idea why she's a representation of their trauma or has anything to do with it.
Yeah, she's just kind of like... She felt like she was just like a riff on, it's funny because this is an old lady who stalked an idol and has all these comments about, have young girls and she's old and I don't know. It felt like a weird joke. It felt like a bad joke character.
Yeah, and it's like, I know that this isn't... I guess it's the inherent problem of these don't seem like girls who've really gone through trauma or who have trauma that's being taken seriously or anything. So it's like, who do we make the representation of their trauma? I don't know, some other fucking joke thing, whatever.
Yeah.
But they're fighting her more cool Sakuga. But then, oh no, for some reason, Rika gets turned to stone by like an attack and she freezes with her thumbs up like, good luck, you can do it. Oh no, she's a statue now. That's important and not it's a Ruby style fake bit of drama. And that's how the episode ends.
That was like a weird cliffhanger. It's like, is she dead? That's what's going on here.
I guess they needed her to be out of it, but not in a way that would make you ask later why she didn't come, out of the dream, just fucking bleeding all over Ai's bed.
Yeah, I mean that's part of it. Yeah, I just looks like a murderer.
Yeah. But then episode 4, here we fucking go.
Yeah. So as much as, episode 2 had a couple of moments of like, episode 3 had some other moments of like, episode 4 was like, like if I had to,
dang. Too bad.
If I had to summarize them in noises.
Yeah.
Yeah, the episode 4 was the one where it was like, okay, this show is not good.
Yeah.
And like you've said, you could tell from this point. We got here and it's like, okay, we don't need to know anything else. This show is going to be trash. Like there was enough happened in this episode that it's like, nah, this is going to be a trash show.
Yeah, or at least it would have to do a lot of work to make up for the vibe that you're getting by this point.
Yeah.
And it definitely did not accomplish that.
No, it did not.
Here's the thing we need to establish up front as we start talking about Momoe.
Yeah.
If someone wants to read her as trans, and if that's like helpful for them, and that's a reading that they have, I will not fuck with them on that. But in terms of things that are canonically established or are supported by the text, Momoe is not trans.
Yeah.
Is the thing.
Yeah. If you're looking for that rep and you want to believe it, like Cube said, if it makes you feel good, I'm not going to argue with you, but it's not in there. It's not in the text. It's not supported. The other two friend characters are anime tropes, and Momoe is another anime trope. The somewhat masculine-looking girl who doesn't feel like she can pull off being feminine. Well, there is actually a term for it, isn't there? Like,
she's a bifonin.
Bifonin, yeah.
Yeah.
It's an established thing in anime. This is a thing that is done sometimes. And so you can see why people would read some of this stuff as transcoding. But you have to ignore a lot of other stuff to think that she's meant to be canon trans or even suggested trans.
Yeah.
There's too much other shit to ignore.
I mean,
Yeah.
for one, like, and pretty much the only thing you really need to know, she goes to an all-girls school in Japan. There is no chance that she's assigned male at birth.
Yeah, sadly. That's just not a possibility.
Unless it was some wacky anime hiding your genitalia situation.
Yeah.
But it's not. Everything about the show, it's not trying to make you think she's trans. It's just trying to make you think that she's a girl who can't embrace her own femininity because she's just too fucking tall.
Yeah. And it sucks. The whole situation sucks. Because, like, there have been a lot of, like, different trans spaces that have tried to embrace her as being trans, and it's just not there. Especially where, like you know, this will come in a later episode, but when the show actually does have a canon trans character later, and they are treated so intensely disrespectfully for the sake of being edgy, that, like, if Momoe was trans, there's no way she wouldn't have escaped that treatment too, aside from anything else.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
It's like, it reminds me of something else that I kind of wanted to bring up, is that I think there's a lot of interesting, kind of unfortunate things that happen when Westerners are interpreting anime. Our impression is like, okay, it has a canon trans character. It must be like trying to be kind of like cool or woke or whatnot. They have the trans colors. But a lot of edgy anime will have like kind of gender and sexual minorities as part of its edginess because, you know, like they're, you know, it's people on the fringes of society or whatever. You know, it's the same way that fucking like Magical Girl Sight had a proper trans character, and Raising Project has, you know, like ambiguously trans people. And so people will be like, well, clearly it's trying to be inclusive and woke, but that's not the angle that the creator is really coming at it from.
No,
so you end up expecting a lot of things that are not good to expect because you're going to get hurt.
Yeah, and it's also this comes from the lack of representation in general, that you latch onto anything that you can.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, even to some extent, was it Sight or Raising Project that had the trans character that was actually like not treated too badly as these things go?
It was a Sight one, but like, I mean, people are still shits to her, but in terms of like overall by the end and compared to a lot of other things in that, she was treated pretty okay.
Yeah, but it's like, it's all that sort of, it's by comparison, and also it's fucking Magical Girl Sight. I mean, this is not a show that was interested in treating anyone well.
I will say she's treated better than the trans boy in this show.
Yeah.
Which, god damn it.
Sorry, it's just such a miserable thing to talk about.
Yeah, because it's like, you know, it's like you see people grasping at those straws and you don't want to be like, hey, that one straw you have, I'm cutting it down. No straw for you.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's a fake ass straw. And if you try to drink out of that straw, it's going to sploot everywhere.
It's a fake ass straw, but it's also like, not this show. Of all shows, don't give your faith to this fucking thing.
Yeah.
This show does not deserve it.
Yeah. So this episode opens on another molestation victim. Very important. So this girl's name is Miwa, and she's introducing herself to someone that's named Momo something. And because this Momo something person looks like a boy to her, she's like, I guess, Momotaro. And so it shows us her actual name is Momoe. And it's like, oh, a boy? Boys can be wonder fighters? Who knew? So Momo's kind of like interviewing her about her trauma. And this girl explains her very important backstory that we need to get many details about, is that she got molested every single day. And then one day she finally grabbed the molester's arm and called out for help. And it's okay, he got arrested and everything. And she's like, but why me? This is great. This episode was even more fucked up on rewatch by such a degree, because she says, but why me? I'm not even that feminine. And at that point, Momoe looks to the side with a kind of annoyed expression.
Yeah. Because
it's like, yeah, you don't know what it's like to feel unfeminine enough, girl, you molestation victim.
It turns out that wasn't the end of the story, because the man who'd been molesting her was her father's boss. And so he fired her father, and her father lost a job. Because she caught the molestation victim, and to just put a little cherry on top, her mother told her, why couldn't you just put up with it? Clearly it was a compliment. He was saying you were pretty.
A normal woman thing to say.
Good show. It's a great show. It's a good show. It's fun. It's a fun show.
And Momo assures the girl that it's not your fault, I'll protect her. And the girl hugs Momo and says, your shoulders are broad. Because it's Momo's suffering. The real suffering is Momo.
Yeah, not this girl. We just heard the absurd fucking edgelord backstory for him. Now, anyway, so that we get the battle, and the monster is obviously the guy who was molesting her.
Yeah, I was going to ask, so this episode has a lot of cutting between Ai's side and Momoe's side, so I guess we should just like cover all the Momoe stuff, and then we can cover all the stupid Ai side stuff.
I guess so, yeah. Because it doesn't go anywhere, but yeah.
But yeah, so Momoe is fighting the big molester monster man.
Yeah, but she's struggling. Like she's struggling with this monster for some reason. She's really having a hard time defeating it. It's tough. So the girl decides that she's going to help Momoe.
Well, we don't know that yet.
Well, I suppose, yeah.
I was supposed to say, I just say that because it makes it even more uncomfortable that suddenly the girl steps out from behind Momoe and is like, you know what? Yes, I do want to be touched by you because the monster's like, you know you like it, blah, blah, blah. And she like opens her shirt and it's like, oh, I don't like it.
She opens her shirt and,
see her bra.
And goes up to the monster, and then we see like it's covered up, but we see the monster like throw her shirt off up into the air, and we like follow it up as it flies up. Mm-hmm. And then Momo kills the monster, and like
as the shirt's thrown up, Momoe has a quick flashback because the girl's like, yeah, you can touch me, and then Momoe has a horrible traumatic flashback to a girl telling her that time a girl told her that Momoe could touch her. Because these two things are equally painful.
Yeah.
But anyways, the girl was just pretending. She was just distracting the guy. Momoe is able to kill the monster. Oh, and Momoe's weapon, I don't like the design of this one as much because like it's a spear umbrella and that's cool, but the actual design of it is like I don't quite get what you were going for here. The way that it's like kind of like foldy flag origami looking, and I'm like, why did it become that from an umbrella? Okay.
So she kills it, and it's dead, and the girl puts her clothes back on, and it's just, that was too much. This was the one where it was like, we're not exploring anything suicide related. It's not about Momoe working through her grief or anything. This is just reveling in an edgy story for the sake of it. You know?
No. Because this episode is it's very similar to the Trans Boy episode, except the Trans Boy episode is this episode, but way worse. But the important thing is that this is about gender and femininity, and it's about the importance to Momoe of being a beautiful girl and feeling like a girly girl. And that's why it was important for her to encounter this girl who had feelings about being a girly girl. Girl.
I guess, yeah, but it's like, but that's the thing is like, okay, well, if it's about that, then why the insanely dark and unnecessary backstory then?
Because that's just exciting and sexy.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean. Like that's the backstory does not connect really. Apart from those aspects of Momoe's character, the backstory does not connect to it. It's just an awful thing that you put in your show for no good reason other than you think it's cool to chuck this in your show.
Because this amazing writer man, he went into his mind palace and he was looking through the tools in his toolbox, and he says, how do I think of something that would apply to a girl in her life and have to do with femininity and shit? And he just has a giant toolbox that's just labeled sexual danger. And he just keeps on pulling them tools out of that toolbox.
Yeah. So they go to a train station?
Well, Momoe's home base is a train station. Actually, all of this has happened in a train station, in like different parts of a train station. When she was interviewing that girl, it was in like a sleeper train car.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you're right.
Which I didn't realize when we first watched it. But so because her friend killed herself by presumably jumping in front of a train, a classic. So, yeah, it's funny because we cut to that girl just hugging Momo from behind like that's normal. And she's like, I just want to stay like this until I disappear. Poof.
But she says that she loves her, right? Isn't this the thing that keeps happening to Momoe? That all of these girls fall in love with her because they think she's a boy?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that girl actually like confesses her love to her, but I mean, you know, like she's clearly romantically hugging her. She likes her.
Yeah.
And We cut to Momoe's next battle, which is a big evil Wom monster of some sort saying, "Get out of a woman's car. You don't belong here, evil man." And I don't even know what trauma this lady represents, the trauma of kicking boys out of the girl's car.
Yeah, I'm confused. But yeah, sure, whatever.
But that's when Momo is like, "I can be in this car because I too am a Wom." And Lily's like, "What?" And Moe defeats her. And the egg girl is like, "Wow, are you really a girl?" And Momo is like, "Yeah, but doesn't the masculine style suit me better, you know?"
Yeah.
And the girl's like, "I don't care either way. I've fallen in love with you. I want to be together forever." And she's coming in for the kiss, and then she poof smoke.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also, like, in terms of the girls becoming less and less people, the suicide girls, you know, it's just like Momoe protected her from this monster and this weird dream hell, and she's just like, I want to,
Yeah.
I want to be with you forever. I'm a human woman.
Yeah, it's fucking like this is silly. The girls would know that this isn't going to work out as a long-term relationship. Like it's more that it's just, yeah, they're just here to service Momo's awful story, and they're not acting like people anymore.
Yeah, and it's like, I don't care how well someone just saved me. I would not immediately be like, "Can I sexually kiss you right now?"
I mean, it's the sort of thing that happens in like a romance story. I'm not necessarily that like annoyed by it. It's just they're not people. Like we're not dealing with these people like they're characters anymore.
Yeah, it's more in combination with everything else and the fact that this is a girl who killed herself.
Yeah. Like we said before, the other characters, when they were talking to I, it seemed like they were sort of talking about these things related to, you know, working through grief and suicide. But like it's almost like Momo's thing is not working through the grief related to her friend. Momo's thing is working through her own feelings about not feeling feminine enough.
Momo has two problems. She doesn't feel feminine enough, and the fucking gays won't stop hitting on her.
Well, yeah, this is the thing that's connected to her actual friend who killed herself. You wanna get into that?
Yeah, because this is when she goes to her friend's statue.
Yeah, has a great line. There's a great line here. I love it.
Yeah, she's like, "Hey, dead friend, there's more girls like you than you'd think, I guess."
Yeah, dead friend. Did you know that there are lesbians in the year 2020? Did you know that lesbians are a thing? And like,
you see the flashback of her asking Momoe to touch her, and Momoe being like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, now, okay, just to be clear, obviously, you know, coming out is still a big deal. It's not like lesbians don't face, you know, fucking harassment and shit like all gay people do. But the idea of saying that there are other people out there like you, that's such a weird thing to say. I don't know.
Yeah, like before anyone points out, you know, like gay marriage isn't still like nationally legal in Japan and stuff. It's like, yes, I know there's issues, but you know what the issue isn't? Having never heard of fucking gay people.
Yeah. That line is weird. Like, as opposed to just like, I don't know, something. I don't know. Because, yeah, the whole thing was that this girl confessed to Momo. Momo rejected her, so she went away and killed herself. You know, yeah. It's just, it's how did you describe it in the taster? She's a pre-buried gay?
Yes.
Like, that's what we're talking about here, is a character who killed herself because she was gay and got rejected. And it's like, this is the oldest, shittiest trope in the world.
Yeah, and in the classic, like, Fridge way, you know, like, it's really about Momo and Momoe's character growth.
Yeah.
It's who cares about this girl as a person? Doesn't fucking matter.
No, yeah, exactly. And like all the other characters Momo deals with in terms of the suicide girls are just these girls who are throwing themselves at her for the sake of like making her feel weird about it all. And like, this sucks. This fucking sucks. Everything about Momoe sucks.
That's all the Momoe stuff before she kind of passes the other characters and meets back up with their story. So we should rewind it back.
Mm.
I was fighting the stupid Muppet monster. At some point, the Suicide Twins give her their glow stick things. They call them pen lights. Do we call them that in English? I don't know.
Pen lights are a different thing to glow sticks, but yes, that's a thing.
Okay. Well, yeah, I don't know about paraphernalia for concerts. So they become like little glowy swords, and she uses them to fight a lot of Kosakuga and such. Oh, yeah, and then Rika's back because she's like, "Hey, remember we heal in the dream world," and so I don't know why we made such a dramatic thing when we turned to stone.
Yeah, I don't know why we focused on that so much, but we did. But it's fine. She's back.
Yeah, and they high five, and it's cool, and Rika's cool, and not a bad person at all, and it's fine.
It's just funny because like all the issues I had with Rika, all that stuff. Like, but after all the Momo shit, it's almost like I totally forgot about all that.
Yeah.
Like Rika's problem is just like that's a writing problem in terms of how sympathetic a character is. Momo's problems are like, oh, that's a whole different kettle of fish.
Especially because I went into this episode from some of the other imagery and the ending and stuff. I'd actually wondered if maybe this was actually going to be a trans person. And I'd heard, oh, there's like definitely some LGBT stuff up in this episode. So I was trying to figure out the whole episode. Okay, like, wait, is she trans? Okay, no, because like it doesn't make any sense that she does this if she's trans. Okay, but she's gay? Oh, wait, no, I guess she's not even gay. I guess she's just a fucking cis girl.
She's just a straight cis girl.
Straight cis girl.
Because like at the end of the episode, like she's upset and...
Wait, no, we can't skip to that because I have to yell about that too much and then it'll be hard to go back.
Okay, what else do we need to get through before that?
Fucking they go to check on Nehru in the hospital. She's checking out, and apparently they get more fit physically by fighting in the dream world, and that's why them getting injured in the dream world stops being a problem because their IRL bods are just so fit now that you never have to worry about injuries anymore. Because the whole getting injured IRL thing it's not a thing after this.
Yeah, which is weird because it was such a big thing. Like the fact that I was going into the hospital after every dream with like serious wounds. It's like, how are we gonna deal with this from moment to moment? But then it's like, oh no, we're not gonna. Don't worry about it. Like,
yeah, they introduce mechanics and then kind of forget about them, and then they kind of go away as other stuff happens.
yeah, it's real strange.
And that's when Nehru is like, "I'll give you a lift," and oh, she's got a big limo. And she owns a company, and it's like, okay, so Nehru's a weird ass cartoon person. That's whatever.
Yeah, that was the thing. It was like Rika had been a bad anime character. Momo was looking like a bad anime character, but like Nehru, she had some stuff going. Oh wait, no, Nehru's also a bad anime character. Okay.
Yeah, or at least like not any kind of realistic person. Okay, she's a baby president of a company. Yeah. She's some kind of super genius, whatever.
Yeah. Some fucking stupid thing.
and Rika and Nehru run into each other for the first time. There's kind of like Nehru, she's not putting up with Rika's shit. Isn't that cute? And it's kind of funny that, like at least this person seems to understand that Rika is some kind of shit girl that she doesn't want to interact with.
Yeah, which is nice.
And then Momoe passes them. And there's a very important conversation that I had to transcribe in its entirety because this was a whole fucking thing online in the discourse.
Yeah, okay. So
Rika is surprised to see a handsome boy, and she's like, but that makes sense, I guess. Boys do kill themselves too. And Nehru's like, wait a fucking second, Akka, what's going on? There should be no boys. And Akka says, yeah, boys and girls' suicides have different meanings. Men's are goal-oriented and women's are emotion-oriented. I'm just going to read out this whole thing and then we can talk all about it.
Sure.
So Uraraka says, women are impulsive and easily influenced by others' voices. Rika, like human relationships? Oh, I guess it's like human relationships and stuff? Uraraka, that's part of it too. Akka, imagine a temptation of death. Nehru, temptation of death? Rika, scary, but I think I kind of get it. Akka, some might be led astray by the temptation and regret it. This place exists for those who want to return children like that to life. Uraka, so don't get hung up on gender. Rika to Nehru, yeah, you shouldn't discriminate. Nehru, the only line that makes sense in this conversation, huh? And so there was a whole thing online because apparently Nehru, near the end of this conversation, was supposed to say something along the lines of, but men and women have the same brains or something. And people online were insisting that meant that what these mannequin men said was supposed to be purposefully sexist and not right, and Nehru was supposed to be the correct person pushing back. But I'm pretty damn sure, especially considering what happens later, that the intention was supposed to be that Nehru doesn't get it because she's just too logical and scientific minded to understand the emotional truths that they're dropping.
Yeah, it's hard to figure out because I thought I saw something from the director who was saying that they'd meant to put that in.
Yeah, that was the director apologizing for leaving that line out.
Why did you leave it out? Like, I don't get it. Why?
Yeah, so people were trying to say, like, so that means this conversation isn't nonsense and sexist. But even if it was in there, no, it doesn't mean that. It's still just a sexist conversation. And Rika being like, yeah, I get it. And obviously, yeah, just the fucking, women are impulsive and easily influenced by others' voices, blah, blah, blah. That's going to continue to be the case throughout the entire show.
Yeah.
People kept trying to be like, no, at some point they'll prove that they were being, wrong and stuff. It's going to become even more doubling down. It's going to quadruple down on that shit.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's the thing. It's not like the show in its statements about women and how these characters behave contradicts that at any point. It just sort of keeps barreling down that tunnel.
And you might say, wait, if only girls are allowed in this system, I thought you said there was a trans boy in another episode. And, I'm just dusting off my hands. Shit's transphobic. It's a bad show.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. It's transphobic.
You might think this is contradictory, but it's not contradictory if you don't respect the trans boy's gender, which the show doesn't.
No,
so
it doesn't.
There you go.
Yeah, it uses a trans boy for an incredibly edgy thing. It does. It's not respectful in any way. It's just another edgy thing to play with. There are specifics we should get into like maybe once we get to the last episode in terms of the specific reasons why we don't think Momo is trans in terms of like actual little bits of evidence within the show. But I feel like the easiest thing to point to is just this is not a respectful show.
Yeah.
With everything else the show is doing, the idea that it's gently coding this thing as like the idea that if Momoe was trans femme, that it would play with that in some horrible way. Like that it just never gets to that. Like,
yeah, it's like the weird logical knot that you have to make that the trans boy can be here and the trans girl can be here and nothing is contradictory or whatever and everything is woke. It's a weird knot that you have to make.
Yeah. There's this ending conversation.
Momoe's crying in the window because they thought she was a boy just because she purposefully dresses to look like a boy because she's got a lot of problems.
Yeah. I mean, that's whatever. But then, I sees her crying. And, I's like, you okay? And Momoe asks her, what do I look like to you? And I says, you look like a pretty crying girl. And then they have a conversation about boys.
Yeah, but Momoe is like, oh, thank goodness, because she said he looks like a crying girl. And Momoe's like, really? Oh! And she's very touched by that. And Neighbor and Rika arrive, and they all talk about how, and they're like, oh, look, you don't have an Adam's apple. That's very important. And then they're like, yeah, Adam's apples sure are hot on men who we're all attracted to.
Yeah. So this is one of those things where, in that scene, I can see why you could look at that scene and go, oh, yeah, she's transcoded. But then they also could make a point of saying she doesn't have an Adam's apple. And not, not all trans women do, but no, it's not what you want it to be.
If you were trying to be cool about identities and stuff, if you were a woke writer or whatever, you wouldn't be like, see, it's super important that she doesn't have an Adam's apple.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just combined with the fact that she doesn't look manly in any way. Like the whole shtick with her is that she looks like a beautiful boy. And she chooses to dress and present herself and be like, oh yeah, I'm Momotaro, sure. But she really wants people to see through to the inner cis girl underneath secretly. But she's just resolved herself to live as a man because she's just too fucking tall.
That's the thing, she's just tall. That's all she is. She's just a bit tall. I don't know. It's
so fucking stupid.
It's just this is just a silly anime character, guys. This is a thing. It's a pre-existing thing. It's just
she's Itsuki from Heartcatch Precure, but shit.
This was the fourth episode of. This is where we got up to in the taster. This is where I stopped because I was like, okay, now this show's gonna be crap.
You can see why I decided we might actually need to make this a 3-parter since we're 2 hours into this recording and talked about 4 episodes.
Yeah. All right. Well,
there's lots to unpack, though.
I look forward to learning about the details of what happened in the next few eps.
I can't fucking wait. I mean, I shared a lot of this shit with you as it was happening, but just to really unpack it again, even just watching all these episodes again today, I was just like, holy fucking shit, this is a real show.
Yeah. I mean, I only got broad strokes from this point onwards, so I'm interested about the details. Yeah. All right. Well.
Yeah. That was our opening arguments. Look forward to the unfortunate trans boy episode. Look forward to the show not understanding what the fuck albinism is. Look forward to super test tube babies. Look forward to Rika Schrodinger's dad. It's all gonna happen.
Oh yeah, and the show's takes on self-harm. I remember a bit of that too.
Oh yes, look forward to. Oh my god, it's gonna be delightful, and also Pokemon. So we'll see.
I hope this isn't the episode that gets us cancelled. Like trying to talk about egg.
Look, like I've said, I think a lot of people have soured on it, and they would probably come to bat for these episodes, but I feel like because everyone's kind of soured on it as a show in general, there's probably less energy for people to come to bat for these episodes.
I hope so. I hope people understand that, like, yeah, it's just we're not putting this on. This is how we really feel. We think the show is very bad.
Yeah, I think we do a pretty good job of explaining why we feel the way we feel. So I think, usually when we get people disagreeing with us, they're pretty cool about it. It's just like, we did as good as we could to explain our perspectives.
Yeah. We might need to get in, like I said, we might need to get into a bit more detail on Momo later, but yeah, we'll get to that.
Yeah, again, all girl school, lots of other things. It's just not supported by the tech, sadly.
Yeah.
I wish we could have good things, maybe someday.
Yeah. All right.
Or in other things.
We'll see you later for more of this.
To be continued.
For more of this wonderful anime. Oy.
Egg you later.